Well, welcome out there once again to my program. Always a pleasure to have you out there in the audience, and always a pleasure to be here in the studio. I have some people that I'm going to have introduce themselves in a few moments. They've been on, a few of them have been on before. I have two new guests. They're from Tiverton, and they like to come on my program, which makes me happy. And they're running for the Budget Committee in Tiverton, Rhode Island, and that's kind of an interesting thing. It's something we don't have here in the city of Fall River, so we're going to get into that, and they'll explain what the Budget Committee is all about and how it actually functions as part of Tiverton town government. But before that, I want to just make this one announcement. I always have an announcement usually. This is a program that's going to be put on by the Fall River Cartoon Society. There's going to be a ceremony at a military monument on Sunday, October 21st at 11:30 a.m. And it's going to be at the Pulaski Monument in the Pulaski Park in Fall River. And this is a ceremony to honor General Casimir Pulaski, Revolutionary War hero and father of the American Cavalry. So we do this every year. This group does this every year, so if you have time, stop by. It should be interesting. There'll be a little coffee, some pastry after, and a little camaraderie. Usually we have local politicians, so it's a good time to corner them and ask them some questions. Well, I'm going to have my guests introduce themselves. Remember, they're all running for the Budget Committee, and this is interesting. Even, I'm sure people will find it very interesting. So, we're going to start off with Mr. Katz. What's your first name? I forgot.
Justin Katz, and actually, I'm running for town council. I'm on the Budget Committee right now.
Oh, all right.
So, a bump up in power and authority a little bit.
All right.
People want to corner me at public events.
Yeah, town council.
And I am Sherry Ockery, and I'm running for Budget Committee. We actually have been in Rhode Island for a few years now. And I used to work for State Department and was a contractor years ago. I did work on Navy ships, and then decided that we were gonna, when my husband retired from the Navy, that we were going to move to Tiverton. And I actually started driving down the roads, and like most Rhode Islanders, I was hitting all these potholes and decided that I wanted to start finding out where my taxes were going.
All right.
I'm Thor Ockery, and I'm also running for Budget Committee. It's the first introduction to some of the local committees and lower level politics. But
First time running for office?
first time running for office at any level, yes.
How do you feel about the whole thing?
It's very interesting. It's educational and
And new in town? In
new
Tiverton?
town. Well, yeah, we've been here. My wife and I have been here for in town for about 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, 8 or 9
All
years.
right.
And
So
in
the
Rhode
high
Island.
taxes didn't scare you away. Maybe that's why
No.
you're running for the Budget
Well,
Committee.
that's one of the reasons why we're thinking about, one of the reasons why we entertain running for Budget Committee, yes.
And the last guest I have, Attorney Nancy Driggs. You've been on a number of times before.
I have,
And now
and
for the Budget
actually,
Committee.
again, I'm like Justin, I'm running for town council.
Oh, town
I
council.
was on the Budget Committee with Justin for a while, and then had to get off last year because I was on the Charter Review Commission. I got elected to that committee. So that's what I did last year. And
That was
now,
an amazing election.
Yes, it
how many,
was.
Again, we're running from your group?
24 running, and our slate of 9 endorsed
One.
by the Tiverton
Everyone.
taxpayer. Yeah,
Yeah, boy, that
Yep.
was something. The
Yep.
whole 9.
I know. As you recall, I believe
recall.
Justin was the one who finally brought some sanity, went up to the town hall and
Yeah, that was a good
actually
idea.
got the results.
That was a good idea, because at your house, it was very,
Morose.
yeah, the atmosphere was very subdued. It looked like everything was over. There was all kind of predictions, but
Justin just quietly
Justin goes up to the town
disappeared.
hall and he gets the real
The results
information.
called in and said, "Oh, actually, we won." Yeah, but it was done more dramatically than that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
well, that was something. So, now you're running for city council,
Yep,
Town
town council.
council, yeah.
town council. How many on the council?
There are 7 on the council.
7.
And we have 7 candidates, so hopefully, again, we can sweep the whole thing.
7 candidates from your group?
Yes,
Yeah.
the Tiverton Taxpayers Association.
Yeah.
And people can get all the names at TTA2018.com.
All right, and budget committee. What is the budget committee, what does the budget committee do?
Well, like I said, I'm new to this, but from what I understand and what I've learned so far, the budget committee actually is responsible for the school, the fire department, the police. We have public works, and all of those different departments come in. They have to present their budgets to the budget committee, and then the budget committee also looks at revenue that comes in, and then tries to figure out what the budget needs to be for those, based on whether the police or whoever brings in an amount, and then they decide if that is reasonable. They look at the previous year's budgets and try to make sure that they're balancing what the people want and what the revenue is from tax levies on property and things like that, and figure out whether or not the people that are, the people's money is what's paying for a lot of the things in the budget. And
Now,
so,
does that go to the city, to the town council? Does the budget committee make a recommendation, and then does that go to the town council? No?
Goes to the voters.
Goes directly to the voters.
right.
To the
So,
referendum. Well, the council presents the town's portion of the budget to the budget committee. The budget committee comes up with a final budget, which appears on the ballot for the voters. And one of the things that's making this election so important is that the town council has forced a charter change on the ballot for this year that would make it so the budget committee can't even look at the revenue, can only change, I think it's about 3 or 4% of the actual budget. So this election, there are important charter changes on the ballot that people need to vote down in order to
you can't
preserve.
look at the revenue. I mean, how do you
Yeah.
determine the budget if you can't look at?
Well, the town council wants to say, this is the revenue you have to use, and no matter what numbers they pick. And sometimes you have to ask where they're coming up with their numbers.
Right, they may not have the right numbers.
Which is a huge philosophical change, because as Sherry,
Secretive enough.
yeah, as Sherry said, one of the,
In particularly,
Yeah.
it seems to me you have to, part of the financial responsibility of town management is not only to ensure that they're spending money correctly, but they're making appropriate actions to cost save, as well as try to produce appropriate revenue to increase the amount of revenue that the town's making. And all of that works into the formula that then creates the amount of taxes that are then levied upon the citizens. So if the pieces of that formula aren't correct, then the citizens get taxed at a higher rate. So it's important to have all those pieces correct, and the budget committee's responsibility, or what they should feel is their responsibility, is to ask all those hard questions to all of the people involved in that process.
Now, how many are on the budget committee?
It's 11.
There's 11.
11.
Wow, that's a big committee. 11 on the budget committee.
Yes, and one of the
Now,
proposals that
when is the budget in the town, when does it have to be finalized? Now, you're going to have the election, 11 people will be on the budget committee, and then a budget will be formulated, and other budgets will come in, the way I understand, from maybe a private group or citizen. When is the final, I might say, final budget? Isn't the final budget or final budgets? You have multiple budgets that can be voted on, is that correct?
Typically, at the referendum, which tends to fall mid to late May,
Okay.
I believe it was the 19th this year, that will have all of the different budgets on it that people can vote for. That's when it's finalized the next day. Prior to that, you chase back to the beginning of the years when the budget committee really starts to meet in earnest, and the town council has to present their numbers.
All right, and then it goes out to the voters. So voters, in the town will have possibly multiple budgets to review.
They will have one, definitely one from the Budget Committee
Yeah, okay,
that
that's-
has to put the docket on. And then, as I think you recall, we also have an elector petition option under our charter where somebody else can petition to have a budget put in. And in fact, Justin has been a pretty regular
Yeah.
petitioner.
I read about them in the newspaper. Now,
So
let me-
there are at least two, but there could be more. But I think there's only been 1 year where there was 3.
So that's interesting because in Fall River, the city council has the great input into a budget that's presented by the mayor. But in this case here, you have a budget committee, so that's something that's a little different. Now, when is the election?
November 6th.
November 6th. Well, that's,
It's the general, 35 days, 34 days, something
Yeah.
like that.
how does it look as far as, I might say number of people running for the budget committee?
I think that everybody needs to remember to vote the TTA slate. That's what they're going to see. It's a good group of people. I think everybody in our group is really concerned with good governance and making sure that we are a voice for the people, because I don't think that the people's voice has actually been being listened to by the current town council.
Well, the complaint in Tiverton, as I know, I don't live there, but over the years, it's been by people who own property that the taxes are just too high.
They're extremely high.
Is that correct?
You're the highest of all the neighboring
It's
cities.
higher than Newport, yeah.
Yes.
It is higher than even Westport,
Much higher than Westport, yeah.
much higher. What is the reason for that?
Well, historically, around the turn of the century, we decided to build brand new schools all on bonds, and that was built into the budgets of the years.
And that's why the
That's the most
taxes have to
significant
be.
reason. I mean, even during that time, the town council was still, we used to have this horrible FTM, financial town meeting, where everybody would get there and yell, and people would line up to get higher taxes. And so even when we were adding all that debt, our taxes were still going up for just our operating budget, until our group started to get involved and we got the referendum passed. And that's another thing that's coming up in this election, is the town council is trying to get to a bit more like what you described in Fall River, only we don't even have a mayor versus a city council. We just have the council, and they want pretty much total
You have a
control.
town administrator?
But he works for the council.
He works for the council.
Yeah.
So a town administrator in Tiverton is not an independent person.
No,
He takes his orders from the council.
nor is the solicitor. He's
And you have a solicitor too. The Fall River City Council would like to have a lawyer they could look to occasionally. They can't seem to get one. So, now, the other thing that's has to be taken into consideration, and you've talked about this a lot in the past, is the casino, the revenue from the casino, your portion of it that goes to the town. And how is that going to be taken in? It'll have to be, considered. I mean, it's part of the revenue, and it will affect the budget process. You're smiling.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the way we see it, the way our organization, our group, and I think most people see it, the way it was part of the debate that took place before the casino was even agreed to be built. Most people agreed and voted for the casino because they believed that the revenue from the casino would be put into the general fund to help reduce taxes. It would be put into the general revenue, which never makes up for our total, the bills that we have to pay. So the amount of revenue that we would get from the casino would help reduce the amount of taxes we would have in general. But now the current debate, of course, is with the town council having their options, or the option they're presenting is to take that casino money and restrict it from being put into the general fund to be used for reduction of taxes, taking it out of the control of of the budget committee's use or the general distribution among the revenue and being used as the town council kind of feels fit to appropriate it to whatever they want to put it to.
And that wasn't really what you wanted, is that correct?
No, definitely not.
I don't think it's
I don't
what
think it's what the people
wanted. Yeah, I don't think it's, I think that's the problem is, I think if people understood that.
Well, is that a campaign issue? So when you're out there campaigning, running for the town council, emphasize that you're going to take that money into consideration as far as a stabilization of taxes or a possible reduction, versus the people who are on the council now. Is that correct? Is that?
There are actually two parts to that, because the same town council, you mentioned earlier the Charter Review Commission, that we overwhelmingly won the seats, well, all of them. And the pledge of the victors in that campaign was to make sure that the casino money was available through our financial town referendum process. The current town council actually took all those recommendations and just brushed them right aside and put their own on. So now they want to change the charters to create this sort of slush fund for the council to completely control this $3 million from the casino. And so one of the things we're going around telling people to do is to vote against all of the charter changes that are on the ballot, because that will leave the money in control of the taxpayers and the voters. And then, of course, elect all of us, and we'll make sure that it goes into the budget and is reasonably used to reduce taxes and meet the town's financial obligations.
Well, that seems to make make the most sense.
Yeah.
Do you have any, when you're campaigning out there, do you have people say, "Oh, I don't care," you're making a big thing of this,
No, actually, interestingly, when you talk to people, even if it's just to ask permission, can we put a sign in your yard? All they need to hear is what the town council is doing with the casino money. I don't need to hear any more, put the sign in the yard. I'm not kidding. So, I don't know, it'll
the
be
message is
interesting.
getting out there before you even make
Oh,
your
I think
pitch to
people
a
are,
homeowner.
people are really worried.
I think if they understand what the town council is doing, although the town council will sort of bend the story so that they'll talk about what they're doing will still reduce taxes, or what they're doing will still allow the reduction in taxes because they're going to put money towards these certain other things, which somehow reduces the deficit in certain ways. But what it really seems to be doing, what it really seems to open the door for them to do, is put the money towards new projects, to expose the citizens to new debt, to start new capitalization projects. But it does this without the structure that the current budget process has, which involves the citizens to vote for the things they want. There's no cap to their spending in the structure that they've proposed. There's nothing that says voters are going to be involved with the situation and the choices that are going to be made.
Well, when a bond that's presented to the voters, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have authority to bond without approval of the voters. So in the past, when there's been bonds floated for capital projects, apparently the citizens have agreed, voted for it. Is that correct?
Yeah, if they pass, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that passed.
Yep.
And that's, you said before that's kind of a heavy weight
It is.
on regards to lowering taxes, because you need the tax money to pay off the bonds.
The heaviest weights in our budget are the bonding, the debt, and the contractual obligations. Those are huge.
Like what?
Union
Employee contracts.
employee contracts.
Okay, yeah, they're always.
But one of the dangers of what Thor was describing is everybody thinks it's a good idea to put this money aside for capital improvements and debt service. But when you look at the landscape right now, I know everybody in Fall River is probably aware of, in the federal government level, they're putting forward a proposal to allow a casino in Taunton on, I believe, some Ashby Reservation, to open that up to have a casino. If that were to happen, and we've built our budgets on the assumption of this $3 million of revenue for our bonds and our debt, and that goes away, we're in trouble. So part of our philosophy is you need to take that into account and be able to lower the tax levy. And that way, if we lose that revenue, the worst thing that has to happen is you increase your tax levy a little bit back up, instead of having all this new debt that now you have to find revenue you didn't have to find before.
Yeah, they can't commit the taxpayer to those new capital projects without asking us first, and that's basically, they think it's extra money, but it's not really extra money. It's just an additional revenue which may help us lower taxes, and it may not be permanent, so they can't just assume that it's always going to be there. But
Well, the Tiverton Casino, as I understand, the town has a guarantee of $3 million per year, whatever the casino does, unless it just closes its doors. I don't know the contract between the town and the casino. It would seem that if the casino closed its doors, you're not going to get your $3 million. I don't know. But while the casino is open, you're guaranteed the $3 million, no matter what it makes.
Well, it's not contractual, it's legislative. So the General Assembly in Providence decided that that's Tiverton's cut. But they meet for a few months every year, and every
Oh,
year
so
they
they
mess
could
all
change.
kinds of things up.
Yeah.
So if the revenue's coming in low, they just
might
pass a new law that says, nah, let's make it 1
$2
million,
yeah.
2 million. And so you can't really, for 1 year, you can count on the General Assembly. And if the revenue's increasing, they won't touch that. But that's not something you'd want to count on because if there's a casino in Taunton that's taking a bunch of revenue from not only Tiverton's casino, but the one in Lincoln as well, the state is going to be losing a lot of money there too. So they're going to say, well, we'll have to squeeze the towns now. So that, while we probably have a few years anyway that we're guaranteed to $3 million, it's not something you want to build your entire budget around for a long term.
Like one-time money, but in a sense. Now, you get $1 million coming in from taxes and fees. That's, as long as the casino is there, that is what you'll be getting also, right?
Property taxes and hotel, yeah,
Yeah.
hotel tax, that kind of stuff.
Well, you know, the question I raised with a few people was, is there any real benefit, in a sense, to Tiverton with this casino? Because Tiverton people will be going to the casino and giving them their money, and the casino might be just returning the money, not to them, but to the town.
Well, I guess it's philosophically how you look at it. I mean,
Well,
if you look at it as
economic-
just entertainment, then
Yeah, but in an economic sense.
I
always
read an
look at
interesting thing in the paper last week. The casino opened September 1,
Yeah.
and the police reports for that, I think it was that first week, or maybe since it's opened, 2/3 of the police response has been casino-related.
Two,
2/3 of the police
Police response.
responses in town.
oh, I
have
can
been-
imagine.
I thought that was interesting.
Well, you know, it's new, and you get new people, but once they're identified, then they're going to be persona non grata. You know, stay away, do not trespass. They'll be kept out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cleaning process. I don't. But
and it should be said that the part of the agreement that we have with the casino is they pay us to have an officer, an additional officer on the site all the time. So they're,
now, just one.
I think it's one
I think it's
one
one.
police, one fire, and a police car that
Because
they're
I've
renting.
gone in here already, and I've seen 2 or 3.
Well, they have their own security, but in addition to
Well,
their
the
security,
Tiverton police officers.
and I think the state has some people down there too at the
Well,
moment.
it could be, but I saw, you know, Tiverton police officers in uniform. So I would assume that the casino is paying for that.
Well, they're paying. I'm pretty sure it's just they're paying for one to be there 24/7.
All right.
Others might come and go as need be, but that is built into the whole process. That there shouldn't be an additional expense to the town to process these
Oh, I can, yeah.
new offenders. And you know, you've got the rotary. I'm sure there's some traffic issues as people get used to that. That might be some of it as well. So yeah, I think you're correct that it's a cleaning process. And
Yeah, well, it's not even, well, it's been open for a month now, just over a month. And they're doing well, so, I mean, a couple more months, you'll be getting a check for at least $750,000. Keep your eye on that.
Quarterly.
Where is that money going to go? When that check comes in,
well,
you know, where does it go? What account does it go into?
Well, the first check's got to go into the general fund because that's part of this the current budget. But it's the discussion still is going to be put on the next ballot now that the town council has brought up the issue of them trying to create their slush fund. So it's if the vote goes our way, there won't be an issue because that vote with new council members or the rejection of the charter amendment changes, which would create this special fund that the town council would own that restricts where the money goes. If that's defeated, then the money should all return to the general fund.
All right. We're getting to the end of the program. Now, what are you doing as far as campaigning? How are you getting your message out?
Well, we're talking to you. We're going around town. We're putting out
Just a
signs.
suppository over the top.
Probably. It's worked in the past. Letters to the editor. We'll be doing our usual, sending out cards and having phone calls go out to people. And
Campaign rallies, you're going to have like last time, you had this presentation by different candidates, various candidates.
I think
You did it at the VFW Post one
Correct.
time. You did it.
There's going to be a
Correct.
forum. Right now, it's probably going to be sometime around October 21st.
Now,
to
where
the
will that be
28th.
held?
That hasn't been completely decided yet, but
So
there
you'll
should
let
be a forum.
Let the voters out there.
Oh, yes.
Your voters out there know.
Right.
And it's going to be, of course, open.
Invitations will be sent out, and it'll either we don't have the exact place tied down yet, but
Yeah.
we will put it out. And I don't know, maybe there might be something about it on Justin's website, but if not, invitations are actually being sent out
And that's the candidates.
for a forum. This is going to be a candidate forum that's open to all candidates from the other side as well as us,
Yeah.
so that we can get the word out to vote for us and to let people know that this town council is trying to take away the FTR, which you guys voted in, Tiverton voters voted in, and the FTR is your voice. And
Okay,
so
we're getting down. I can just go right around, take, 30, 40 seconds, tell the people out there why they should vote for you.
well, what we need is a change of priorities in Tiverton, and we need a town council that puts people first. I find it striking. In the past 5 years, 6 years, we've let multiple employees who've done things that abused taxpayer dollars. They let them walk away because it would cost money to go after them. And yet the same town council is spending money on lawyers to enforce coding violations and losing and having to pay the people for having gone after them. That's an example of the priorities that are wrong.
All right? Tell them.
and that's what I was just saying before. The FTR is a big part of what this group has fought for. We voted for it when we first moved to town, and I think that
Run
the
right
current
on.
town
Sorry.
council has taken it away.
Daw,
Yep,
a few
I-
seconds. Nancy,
Vote the
think-
I'll let
TTA
Thor
is
go.
late.
Let Thor go.
go ahead. You want to
Yep, I think we
Why
need
should they vote for you?
integrity.
All
We,
right.
we stand for the people.
Honesty, integrity.
Yep.
Visit
and when-
TTA2018.com.
All right, you heard from the candidates, and if you want additional information, I'm sure you can contact them, call them, stop by, wherever you feel that they are, and get additional information. I thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Nancy, for calling, and thank you.
Thanks for having us
rest of you
on.
to come on the program. I hope to see you soon. And don't forget,
I know.
I'm always available for parties.
You will be there.